Hi, this is the voice of Heidie Calero with another economic capsule regarding the Puerto Rico economy. This time we have entitled our capsule as The Hunt for Puerto Rico's Fiscal Budget, which right now is being discussed in the House of Representatives, and it should be aligned with the fiscal plan that the PROMESA, or the Fiscal Oversight Board, has mandated recently with its certified fiscal plan. The Office of Management and Budget argues that yes, that their fiscal budget for 2024, which should be starting in approximately 31 days as of July 1st of 2023 through June 30th of 2024, is aligned with that fiscal plan. But let me go back memory lane, because I did work for my first job in Puerto Rico after coming from graduate school. It was with the Office of Management and Budget in 1974 through 78, and I remember that it was a process. The process started with the Puerto Rico Planning Board providing the forecast for the real economic growth of the economy, and based on that, Puerto Rico Treasury would be forecasting fiscal revenues anticipated for that fiscal year. And once that was in place, then the Office of Management and Budget would take that as the baseline against which all the agencies would come to the Office of Management and Budget, discuss their budgets, and present their discussion and their budgets, and the Office of Management and Budget would prepare this consolidated budget as well as the general fund budget, and it would be submitted to the House of Representatives. There was no oversight fiscal board at that time, and it worked. And here I'm depicting for you that relationship, which seems to have worked slightly from 2018 through 2022 fiscal years. And the bars, the columns that you see there are the real economic growth as published by the Puerto Rico Planning Board. So for instance, in 2018, it was negative 4.2% growth in Puerto Rico, and the fiscal revenues of the general revenue was this line that you see there in orange, and it is $9.8 billion as of 2018. That correlation, 2018 through 2022, between what was the real economic growth and the general fund revenues has a correlation of 72%. Had it been 100%, it's a perfect correlation, so it means that these two variables are aligned. But notice what happens now when we are forecasting or using the forecast that the Oversight Board of PROMESA has published in their fiscal plan for fiscal 2023, current one, through 2027. Again, practically no growth, no real economic growth, and the last one in 2027 is a meager, anemic growth of 1.7%. Yet these general fund revenues, notice, they are almost the same. The correlation between these two variables is scarcely 35%. What a contrast between 72% in the historically 2018 through 2022 and the fiscal revenues and the growth that has been forecasted by the PROMESA board through 2027. It's 35%. Honestly, the oversight board has such a bad record in terms of forecasting both economic growth as well as the fiscal revenues that it is shameful. But hey, that's why we have entitled our economic capsule as The Hunt for Fiscal Budget in Puerto Rico. Let's look at the second graph, which are the changes in this consolidated budget that is being discussed for fiscal year 24 compared with 2023. And this time we are comparing payroll, which is the segment, the blue segment, that in 2023 it amounted to $4.8 billion out of a consolidated budget, not just the general fund, but the consolidated budget as of $28.2 billion. As of 2024, the consolidated budget that is being discussed and presented to the House of Representatives, and supposedly it's aligned with the fiscal plan of PROMESA, it's $30.9 billion. And of that, $5.6 billion are now for payroll. That's an increase of $780 million more payroll for the government. The other expenses, which is the segment in orange in these two bars, columns, represent an increase of almost $2 billion in other operating expenses, and pay-go, which is really the contribution that now the general fund is paying for all these retirement systems, the pensioners, because these systems just went bankrupt. That includes teachers, the central government, and the judicial system. All of those are being paid out of taxpayers' money. That doesn't include what is being right now negotiated regarding the public debt of the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, and which also includes a pension system that is also bankrupt. So that's not included in this pay-go, but at any rate, there's no increase in pay-go. So pensioners, no increase because of inflation adjusted, no way, 0%. So that's the increase in the budget, almost $2.7 billion between 2023 to 2024. The next is what economic development represents of this consolidated budget, and these two pies that I'm depicting for you here denote in 2023 that economic development were $3 billion, or 10% of that consolidated budget. The other areas such as education, health, retirement systems, or all this government regulatory, all that is included in this other tan-colored segment of the pie, which is about 90% of that consolidated budget. And in economic development, it's only 10%. Let's move forward to the 2024 proposed budget. $31.7 billion. Again, it's only $3.3 billion for economic development, only 10%. Almost the same increase as in 2023. We cannot really move the needle in terms of economic growth for this island, which, as I depicted in the graph above, has almost zero real growth. And then finally, the top 5 changes in economic development, be it positive in one table we are depicting for you, and the negative ones in another table. Well, in the positive changes are in Ports Authority with $84.8 million in increases, the transport system, integrated transport system, $42.2 million. The Alliance for Public-Private Partnerships, it's $42 million, and it is questionable what this agency really has done. For the Puerto Rico Treasury, they've given them $35.8 million additional. For tourism, which is good, it's almost $29.9 million. So out of the economic development increases of $293.8 million, well, 80% of those changes, top positive changes, came from these agencies that I depicted for you. And then in this next graph, the ones that depict or experience a negative change from 23 to 24. Yes, the Department of Economic Development did. Well, they took $12.1 million reduction in their budget for the Caño Martin Peña, which is one of these communities that requires changes in the infrastructure, drainage, and all that stuff. Negative $8.2 million. The Department of Natural Resources, $7.5 million less. In the Land Authority, it's negative $3 million. And finally, the Administration for the Financial Authority in Puerto Rico, more or less the equivalent or the successor of the Economic Development Bank, it's negative $2.6 million. So out of that, those changes represent 10% less in terms of these increases in economic development. So as you see, economic development is not moving the needle here. This process of that fiscal budget for 2024 is really it's really faulty, because it has almost a divorce between economic growth forecast and the forecast of the fiscal revenues, and that is really what we are seeing now. Nobody discusses this except here in the Puerto Rico Economic Capsule, which always brings to you topics and documents the theory and the findings. So don't forget to give us a like in those economic capsules that you like, such as this one. Don't forget that if you like our capsules, to subscribe to the Puerto Rico, the voice of Heidie Calero, and to give us a like in those capsules that you like. This is a service of Puerto Rico Economic Pulse. And don't forget to give us your comments, suggestions, recommendations, so that we can incorporate them in the analysis. And remember that the economy is all of us. Thank you.